The galaxy was busy, loud and full of life. Ships flew between stars. Markets traded goods from hundreds of planets. Every day, millions of voices filled the airwaves, and many of them were human. Then one morning, all the human voices disappeared. No. Warning, no message, no goodbye, just silence. In the center of the galaxy, the Galactic Council met inside a shining metal hall. The council was made of the oldest and most powerful species. They had been watching humans for a long time. Some admired them, some feared them, all respected them. Ambassador Thalor, a tall alien with silver skin and glowing eyes, looked at the reports. He did not blink. Every human signal has gone dark, the report said. No messages from Earth, no trade ships, no colonies, nothing. Thalor stood in the middle of the room. His voice was cold. What do you mean, nothing? A younger council member replied nervously. Scanners show no destruction, no signs of war. Human ships are still in place, but no one is answering. At first, the council thought it was a trick. Humans were clever and unpredictable. Maybe this was a new kind of strategy, a silent war. But as the hours passed, fear grew. Surveillance. Drones sent images back from the human colonies. Earth, empty cities, streets clean, no chaos. Mars, domes, still working, air still flowing, but no people. Titan, computers still on, machines still running, but no signs of life. Everything was perfect, but humans were gone. Across the galaxy, panic spread. Humanity was known for their power, speed, and strange ideas. They had grown faster than any other race. In only a few hundred years, they became one of the most powerful forces in space. Now they had vanished, and no one knew why. Some believed they had died. Some believed they had run. But Thalor had a different thought. They left on purpose. He said. The council fell silent. Why would they do that? Someone asked. Because they discovered something, or they're planning something, Thalor replied. This isn't an accident. This is a choice. Later that day, a small beacon lit up in the dark. It was an old human satellite orbiting a dead moon. The satellite had not sent any signal for 10 years, but now it blinked once, then twice. Then it sent a short message. 2 words. Goodbye. Forever. The message was short, but it shook the entire council. Did they mean to leave forever? Did something force them to leave? Are they warning us? No one knew the answer. The council sent ships to every corner of human space. They found food, water, fuel, all still in place. Doors were unlocked. Machines were working, homes looked lived in, but there were no people. It was like everyone had quietly stood up and walked away. Some species thought humanity had ascended, become pure energy and left the galaxy. Others believed humans had found a new universe and escaped into it. A few thought they were preparing for war, a war no one else was ready for, but there were no facts, only fear. Thalor, alone in his dark office, looked at the human message again. He replayed the words over and over. Goodbye forever. It sounded like a warning. It felt like a promise. In the quiet of the night, another signal appeared, this time from deep space. Encrypted, ancient human code. The message was not clear, but the last part translated. Phase 2 has begun. Thalor's eyes narrowed. Whatever humans had planned, it had already started. The Galactic Council could not wait any longer. After the shocking message, goodbye forever, and the mysterious code, Phase 2 has begun, fear gripped every corner of the galaxy. Ambassador Thalor stood before the Council again. His face was calm, but his thoughts were not. We must go to the human worlds, he said. See with our own eyes what happened. The council agreed. Within hours, search teams were sent to every human colony. The first stop was Earth, a beautiful blue planet, the home of humanity. The place where everything began. As the scout ship entered Earth's orbit, the crew looked down in silence. The cities below were untouched. No signs of battle, no smoke, no lights, just stillness. The ship landed near New Geneva, one of the largest Earth cities. Buildings stood tall, cars were parked, lights blinked on and off. But there were no people. Inside homes, food sat on tables. Clothes were folded neatly. Doors were unlocked. Everything was clean, too clean. It was like the people had simply walked away in the middle of an ordinary day. Next, they went to Mars. The red planet had been turned into a thriving colony. Giant domes covered entire cities. Inside them were farms, schools, markets. The search teams walked through silent streets. Robots continued working, watering plants and cleaning walkways. Everything was working, but no one was there to control it. A personal assistant AI spoke when the team entered a home. "Hello, Jason. Would you like your daily news?" "Jason is not here," the alien replied. "Jason is always here. Would you like your music?" In playlist instead. The team left in silence. Then came Europa. On this cold moon of Jupiter, humans had built research labs. Powerful minds worked here, studying space, time, and dimensions. In one lab they found something strange, a hidden room. Inside, it was a device, a large black cube with a glowing white center. No one knew what it was for, but it was still active. A voice spoke from it, low, robotic, and human. "This is the threshold. They are coming. Humanity is not gone. We are preparing." The voice stopped. The cube shut down. No one could turn it back on. Back at the council, panic grew. What does it mean? Who is coming? Where did humanity go? Many feared this was a sign of war. Others believed it was something even worse. Ambassador Thalor did not speak. He only watched the data. He studied the patterns, and then he noticed something. All human weapons gone, all warships gone, all defense systems removed, but not stolen, taken on purpose. "They took everything that could fight," Thala whispered. "Everything and everyone." Some council members still hoped humanity had escaped some great disaster, but the clues said something different. This wasn't running. This wasn't panic. This was a plan. Everything had been shut down in an organized way. Even the satellites had been cleaned of data, as if humans didn't want to be followed, or maybe they didn't want to put others in danger. Then one final message was found. It came from Titan, Saturn's moon. A data vault deep underground. Human tech had hidden it so well, only advanced council scanners could find it. Inside, a single message played: "To the galaxy we leave behind. We are not abandoning you. We are giving you a chance. If you follow us, you may die. If you stay, prepare." The screen faded. Silence again. That night, Ambassador Thalor sat alone. He remembered the old human stories, how they always warned, about threats in the dark, about monsters no one believed in. They always feared something was coming, he said to himself. What if they were right? Then his screen blinked, a new transmission, no source, no origin, just a blinking light and a sound file. He opened it. A voice spoke. "We left the door open, but only for those who are ready." Thaler's eyes widened. Where had humanity gone? And, more importantly, what were they preparing for? The council hall was no longer calm. Once a place of order and quiet thinking, now it echoed with voices filled with fear. Each council member spoke over the other, trying to explain the impossible. Some blamed human madness, others whispered about ancient threats. A few believed this was the beginning of a silent war. Ambassador Thaler said nothing. He stood at the center of the room, watching the chaos. His silver fingers were locked behind his back, and his glowing eyes were fixed on the large screen. It showed images of Earth, Mars, Titan, all quiet, untouched, waiting. But something was wrong, not just the silence. The way the humans had vanished felt too controlled, too smart. They had not been taken. They had chosen to leave. Suddenly the room fell silent. A message had arrived. It came from the outer edge of the galaxy, far beyond any known human colony. The signal was weak, barely holding together, but real. It was marked with an old human. In code, the kind only used by deep space research teams. The message was short, a voice calm and low. "They are not gone. They are watching. Stay where you are." Then static. The council stared at the screen. Some laughed nervously, others whispered in fear. Thalor stepped forward and asked one question. "Who are they watching?" No one answered. Later that day, another ship returned from a search mission. It had visited a small outpost near the Black Stars, a place no one had cared about before. The crew found the station completely abandoned. But one thing was left behind. A large wall covered in human writing. Thousands of small notes stuck, one after the other. The same words were repeated in many languages, different handwriting, different colors. All human. We remember. We prepare. We return. The council analyzed the message again and again. There was no clue where humanity had gone, but one thing was clear. They were planning something. Something big. That night, Thalor met with only a few trusted council members, the most experienced, the ones who remembered the old stories. They gathered in a private room, away from the noise. "Do you believe they are building an army?" one of them asked. "Maybe," Thalor replied. "Or maybe they found something that made an army necessary." Another member whispered, "You mean the legends?" The room went cold. Long ago there were stories, dark stories about creatures in the space beyond space, beings that destroyed everything in their path. No one had proof. Most thought it was myth. But humans, they always believed, always prepared, always afraid. Of the dark between the stars. What if the humans had found something? What if they saw what was coming and chose to disappear to face it alone? Thalor remembered something from his early days as an ambassador. He once asked a human general why their people built so many weapons, even in peace. The general had smiled and replied, "Because peace is just the space between wars." The words returned to him now. If humans had left the galaxy, it wasn't to hide, it was to fight. And if they were fighting, it meant something terrible was on its way. Another signal came in just before midnight. This one from an unmanned drone, floating near the center of a black hole cluster. It had captured a short video, something massive moving just beyond the edge of light. Something not made by human or council technology, something alive. And behind it, human ships. Dozens of them, silent, watching, waiting. The drone sent one last burst before it was destroyed. Thalor stood alone again, watching the stars from his window. He had always thought humanity was dangerous, reckless, hard to understand. But now he saw something else. Humanity had never been running away. They had been stepping forward into the darkness. So what did that mean for the rest of the galaxy? The next morning, the council received a transmission from an unknown location. Calm voice. It said, "We warned you, we asked you to listen, now we ask only one thing." The room leaned in. "Do not follow us." Then silence, and the fear grew deeper. The message repeated once more, slow and final. "Do not follow us." It played on every screen inside the Galactic Council. Then it ended. No signal, no trace. Just empty space. Ambassador Thalor sat quietly, in his private chamber, listening to it again and again. Every word felt like a warning, a line drawn in the stars. But a part of him didn't want to listen. A part of him needed to understand. What had humanity seen that scared them enough to vanish? What had they chosen to face alone? Across the galaxy, more questions rose. Council scientists found no sign of battle, No record of disease, no environmental disaster. Everything the humans had built remained in perfect condition. But their people, their war fleets, their leaders, all gone. Then, on the far edge of the spiral arm, a research vessel called Siren's Echo sent a strange report. It had picked up human ship signals, modern and active, near a region long feared by travelers, a place called the Veil. The Veil was a dark stretch of space with no stars, no light, and no return. Dozens of ships had entered over centuries. None came back, no data, no escape, just erasure. But now Siren's Echo detected human activity inside the Veil. Ambassador Thalor called for silence in the council chamber. He played the report from Siren's Echo. Everyone listened as the recording began. The ship's pilot, a calm-voiced alien named Orin, described a visual. Through thick layers of radiation, they saw outlines of large objects. Ships. Human ships. But not like the old ones. These were faster, sharper, silent like ghosts. No signals, no calls. And then, just before the recording cut off, Orin whispered a final line. "They are not alone in there." The feed ended. A vote was held. Some wanted to send a fleet to investigate. Others begged not to. Fear was heavy, but curiosity was stronger. In the end, a small team of stealth drones was sent. No crew, only machines. They would enter the Veil and report what they saw. The first drone crossed the border. Static filled the screen. Then, shapes. Enormous structures floated in the dark. Human symbols covered the metal, not military, something older, maybe research stations, maybe more. A low hum played in the background. Not sound, but something deeper. A frequency the drones couldn't block, a vibration that made machines tremble. One drone flew close to a large black object. It looked like a station, but shaped more like a giant hand reaching out into the void. As it scanned the surface, a light turned on. Then another, then hundreds. It wasn't abandoned. And then a message arrived. Not through radio, not through normal space, but directly into the drone's system. It said only this: "We built the door. Now we guard it." Before the council could react, all the drones went silent at once. No explosion, no alarm, just instant darkness, as if they had never existed. The council fell into chaos again. Some screamed for defenses, others spoke of prophecy, of the old stories whispered in fear. Ambassador Thalor listened to none of it. He left the chamber without a word and walked alone. He remembered something again. A conversation from years ago. A human child had once asked him a question during a peace summit. "Do you think monsters are real?" He had smiled then. A soft lie. "No," he had said, but now he wasn't so sure. What kind of enemy hides behind a place like the Veil? What kind of enemy makes humans leave everything behind to face it? Late that night, Thalor opened an ancient archive. It was a banned section of council history, stories never proven, often ignored. But one caught his eye. An old tale, written before space travel. It spoke of beings made of shadow, who waited in the cold places between stars. They consumed light. They consumed thought. They came in silence and left only ruins. Most believed the story was written in fear, not fact. But now, maybe not. The last line of the tale sent a chill through him. They do not speak. They do not warn. They only come when the lights go out. Thalor closed the book slowly. The lights in his chamber flickered once, then twice. He looked up at the stars through the window, and for the first time in his long life, he felt truly small. The stars were older than anyone could remember. But even they could not hide everything. Deep within the council's oldest archive chambers, a quiet researcher named Velin uncovered something strange. It was a damaged record, half corrupted, buried under layers of lost data. Most of it was unreadable, but one part remained. It showed a human officer standing in a dark room, his face tired, his eyes cold. His voice was calm. "If you are watching this," he said, "they've returned." Velen stared at the screen. She wasn't sure what they meant. The file had no name, no date, only one note at the bottom. Recovered from Outpost D13. Battle debrief, year unknown. She sent the file straight to Ambassador Thalor. Hours later, Thalor played the message alone in his chamber. He watched the human officer's face. There was no fear in his eyes, only a deep, heavy sadness. "They don't come from any star system," the officer continued. "They live in the dark between. We met them once, a long time ago. We weren't ready. We lost a lot." He paused. "But we survived. Barely. We made sure no one remembered. We erased everything, because we knew they'd come back one day." The file ended there. No sound, no location, no proof. But Thalor believed. Yet he now understood something the others did not. This was not the first time humanity had vanished. It was the second, maybe even the third, and every time they did it for one reason, to protect the rest. He brought the message to the full council. Many shouted that it was fake. Some said it was old human propaganda, but others stayed quiet. They had begun to feel the same fear. That night more reports came in from near the Veil. Strange signals, broken patterns, ghost-like energy spikes. Ships sent to observe simply vanished without a trace. And then, from a distant mining planet near the edge of known space, came the first survivor. He was a merchant, alone in a damaged pod. His ship had been attacked, not by pirates, not by a fleet, by something else. He described shadows that moved like liquid, that ignored shields and tore metal apart. He said he saw a human ship appear out of nowhere, massive, glowing, silent. It fired once and the shadows fled. The human ship didn't stay. It just hovered for a moment, then disappeared into the dark. The merchant cried as he spoke. "They're fighting it," he whispered. "Alone. All this time. They've been fighting it." Thalor's thoughts went back to the message. "We remember. We prepare. We return." The council held an emergency vote. Some wanted to send a fleet into the Veil. Others warned that would break the humans' message. "Do not follow us." In the end, they decided to wait. But waiting had a cost. 1 week later, a small colony on the edge of council territory went silent. The rescue team found no damage, no bodies, no blood, just emptiness. The exact kind humanity had left behind. Only one thing remained. A single human marking burned into a wall. It begins again. The council was in shock. The old stories were true. The forgotten war, once believed to be a lie, had returned, and only one species remembered it. Only one species had survived it before. Humanity. Thalor stood before the council one last time. He looked at the frightened faces, the leaders who once believed they controlled everything. "They didn't run," he said. "They remembered." He paused. "And we did not." The stars outside flickered. Somewhere, far away, beyond the edge of the map, a new light blinked, then another, then many. Not stars, warnings. The darkness was moving, and humanity was still out there, standing between it and the rest of the galaxy. For days, the stars trembled with quiet signals. Faint echoes crossed the edges of space. Strange patterns moved through the dark. Every scanner picked them up, but no one understood them. The signals were not made by machines. They felt older, deeper, like something alive. Then, one morning, something appeared. Not a message, not a warning. A ship, a human ship. It dropped out of folded space near the planet Jaraxxis 4, a lifeless rock in Council territory. The vessel was enormous, larger than anything the Council had ever seen. Its surface was dark and smooth, with symbols glowing. In slow pulses, human language, but old, very old. Council satellites locked onto the ship at once. Before any signal could be sent, the human ship released a pulse, not an attack, but a wave of light. Every machine went silent for 1 second, and then they all came back online. But something was different. A message had been left behind. On every screen, every terminal, every private link, "We are not what we were. We have returned. Do not fear, but do not lie to yourselves. The silence is ending." The Council watched the ship for hours. It did not move. It did not speak again. It just remained still, glowing softly. Then it left, vanishing back into the dark as quickly as it had arrived. Across the galaxy, more ships began to appear. Always one at a time, never speaking, never staying. Each one dropped out of folded space, sent a silent pulse and vanished. Each time, they left a different message. We stood alone. We faced what you could not. We changed. They were warnings, or perhaps invitations. Ambassador Thala stared at the growing list of messages. He felt something heavy settle in his chest. These weren't the same humans they remembered. Something had happened to them out there. In the veil. Something powerful. Something terrible. Rumors spread across the Council worlds. Some believed humanity had merged with unknown technology. Others thought they had evolved into something new. A few believed they were no longer human at all. But one thing was clear. Humanity had returned, and they weren't alone. On the 4th day, a small fleet of human ships appeared in neutral space. This time they didn't vanish, they waited. The Council sent a signal, cautious, polite. The reply came not through audio, but through direct transmission. Simple, clear. Meet us. Listen. Choose. The meeting took place on a floating station, near the edge of the Serun Belt. Only a few Council leaders were allowed to attend. Thalor was one of them. The human ship arrived without sound. It docked without warning. From inside, 3 figures stepped out. They wore long, dark robes. Their faces were hidden by glowing masks, but their voices were calm. "You called us. Dangerous once," one of them said. "You were right." Another added, "You feared we would bring war. We feared that too." Then the third stepped forward. But the war came anyway. Not by our hand, but by theirs. They shared no names, no ranks, but what they brought was truth. A small cube was placed on the table. It lit up the room. Holograms danced in the air, battles in pure darkness, ships fighting things with no shape, planets consumed by silence, scenes of terror, but also of courage, humans standing alone and surviving. "We did not come back to conquer," one of the masked figures said. "We came back to ask one question." Everyone leaned in. "Will you stand with us, or will you stay behind?" The message was clear. The war had begun again, and this time humanity wasn't going to fight it alone, unless it had to. Thalor looked into the light of the hologram. He saw a future filled with fire, but also a chance, a strange hope carved from fear. Humanity had disappeared once, not to hide, but to prepare. Now they had returned, changed, hardened, focused, and whatever was coming would not wait much longer. The choice was given. The galaxy stood at a crossroad. In the center of the Council's grand chamber, the message from humanity echoed again. "Will you stand with us, or will you stay behind?" No threats, no demands, just a question, one that left every species quiet. The Council had ruled for thousands of years, but now their power felt small. Across the stars, citizens waited for answers. They looked to their leaders, but their eyes also turned toward the dark, toward the humans, toward the war they had been fighting alone. Ambassador Thalor sat in his chamber, staring at the stars. He felt a storm coming, not just in space, but within the hearts of those who now realized the old stories were real. The ancient threat, once forgotten, was moving again. They called them the Silence. No one knew what they looked like, no clear shape, no language, just hunger, a hunger for light, thought, life itself. They came without sound, they destroyed without reason, and when they left, They erased everything, even memory. Humanity had seen them, fought them, survived, and now they were warning everyone. Another message arrived. This one was different. It was not sent to ships or leaders. It was broadcast across the entire galaxy. People on every planet saw the same thing, a human standing on a ruined world, surrounded by ash and flame. The figure spoke with calm strength. "You don't need to fear us. You need to fear what's coming. We tried to fight it alone. Now we offer a second chance, but it's your choice." Behind the humans, shadows began to move. Huge, formless creatures walked across the burned ground. The human didn't turn to face them. He simply looked into the camera. Unity or extinction. The screen went black. The galaxy stirred. Some worlds prepared for war, others hid in fear. A few denied everything, hoping it would all pass. But many remembered. They remembered how humanity had always pushed forward, even when others told them not to, how they had warned of danger, how they had left not to escape, but to stand between the galaxy and something worse. One by one, small groups sent messages to humanity. "We're ready. We believe you. Show us the way." Not everyone agreed. Not all chose unity. But enough did. Enough to build a new fleet. The Council called for a final vote. This time, there was no debate. Taylor stood and spoke the last words before the decision. "We once feared what humans might become. Now we understand. We feared the wrong thing. We feared strength when we should have feared silence." The vote passed. The galaxy would stand together. In the days that followed, humans shared knowledge, new weapons, new shields, new warnings. They taught how to fight without sound, how to resist the fear that crawled into minds during battle. They taught how to stand when the darkness came. The first battle began on the edge of the void, near the Veil. Human ships led the charge. Alien fleets followed behind, uncertain but ready. And then the stars went out, no warning, just black. From the void came the creatures, large, shapeless, moving like smoke through space. Energy weapons failed, shields cracked, communications fell apart. But the humans didn't run. They moved fast, striking with silence and precision. Their ships had been built not to survive the void, but to hunt inside it. And for the first time in memory, the darkness fell back, not for long, but just enough. The Allied ships regrouped. They fought together, one voice, one purpose. In that moment, something changed. The galaxy was no longer many divided races. It became one, not under force, not by fear, but by choice. After the battle, only half the fleet returned. The others were lost, their ships scattered like dust in the dark. But the message was clear. They could win. Not easily, not quickly, but together. Thalor stood once again in the council hall, now filled with new voices, human, alien, once strangers, now allies. He looked out the great window. The stars shone bright, the silence had been broken, and the galaxy had found its voice.